Hello and welcome back to Continental Club, where we discuss the hottest topics in European football. I'm much better this week. Thank you for your concern last week. I was very ill. Well done to McCubbin and James for holding it together as ever. Joining me today, it's Pato and McCubbs again. And we've got a big topic because Big Pascal, 1882, has asked, what do you make of the Abidal-Messi dynamic? And does this spell the end for Messi at Barcelona? What? No way. Probably not. But anyway, let's get into it. But before we do that, just a reminder to subscribe to EuroFootball Daily and hit that notification bell to never miss a Continental Club. But McCubbs, we need some background on this. For people that aren't aware, what's been going on in Barcelona this week?
Yeah, I mean, unless you've been living under a rock, you've probably heard something. But yeah, essentially, this is the first time in quite a long time that there's been genuine talk about the possibility of Messi leaving Barcelona. Obviously, this week, Director of Football and former teammate Eric Abidal, conducted quite a revealing interview in which he intimated that players had essentially kind of downed tools for Valverde and had essentially given them no choice in terms of getting rid of him and replacing him with Quique Setien. To which Messi very quickly responded, essentially calling him out on Instagram, saying that he needed to name names to avoid dragging everyone through the dirt and this, that and the other. And then following that, Bartomeu apparently had kind of crunch talks, as you call them, with Abidal. There's uncertainty about his future, but I understand that that's been resolved now. So for now, Messi and Abidal both at Barcelona. I think if anyone was to go, it would be Abidal. But at the moment, it looks like the dust has settled a little bit. But it is a little bit concerning because obviously Messi's got this crazy clause in his contract. Obviously, a contract worth around £57 million a year, which is pretty ridiculous in and of itself.
Pretty tasty.
But apparently he can basically leave at the end of in any summer as long as he communicates this with the board. Before May, to give them a little bit of notice, with replacing their greatest ever player. It's one of those things. This isn't the first time it's happened. It may not be the last time it happens. He's expressed dissatisfaction with the direction of Barcelona in the past. He obviously has a lot of power there. Maybe one of the 2 or 3 most powerful people at the club in terms of actually what he. What he can dictate in a way. Back in 2015, there was a big uproar because apparently he followed Chelsea on Instagram. That's something that's new to me. 2016, Manchester City were very interested in trying to get him on board, and apparently he was quite dissatisfied with the club at that point as well. I seem to remember in Luis Enrique's first season, him and Luis Enrique had a bit of a falling out, and there was talk about that, and that almost cost Enrique his job. And even back in 2011, when Barcelona were first trying to sign Neymar, apparently he was getting a little bit tetchy about his kind of position as the club's figurehead at that point. So this is nothing new, and I expect Barcelona will probably deal with it. But Manchester City have spoken to his father before on these kind of matters. They have tried to go in fairly hard for him, and despite Pep himself very much seeing Messi as someone who should stay at Barcelona, he's stated that in the past. It would be an amazing coup that for a club like City to pull out. I can't see any other club really getting anywhere near Messi in this kind of situation. But even City, I think it's very, very slim.
Yeah, it does seem like a long shot, but I think it just shows the sort of general dissatisfaction of Messi with how the last few years have played out at Barcelona. I mean, he doesn't like how, supposedly according to the Athletic, he hasn't liked how Abidal has then said that they didn't go in for Xavi as their coach rather than Setien, when Xavi's quite upset by that because he actually knows that they came and spoke to him in Qatar. And Messi, is upset with being seen as sort of the orchestrator of all the ill feeling at the club as well, that he's got too much player power, is what I'm hearing as well. So it just screams with a sort of general dissatisfaction with the politics of Barcelona, rather than necessarily what's going on the pitch, because apparently he was actually more of a fan of Valverde than people have made out but he is frustrated with the way the club has run. And last summer, really wanted Neymar to come back. That didn't happen. Griezmann came in, and obviously Griezmann and Messi don't have quite the same relationship as him and Neymar do, at least on the pitch. I've no idea about off the pitch, although you'd presume not off the pitch as well. Pat, do you think this sort of situation around the politics of Barcelona has affected Messi on the pitch at all?
Not really. I think that Messi's standards just continue to get higher. Like, he's scoring and assisting at a slightly lower rate this season. I think 1.3 per game instead of 1.44 from last year. But that still works out to 22 goal involvements in 17 league games. In the Champions League, a little bit lower, 5-5. But I also think that Barcelona have just generally been worse. You know, Suarez is clearly on the downslide now because he's pretty old. Griezmann hasn't really settled in the way that some people hoped he would, but it's not that surprising. Dembele's obviously out injured, and right now it's kind of Messi and then a 17-year-old kid who looks like a promising 17-year-old, but you know, so did Munir, so did Boyan. Like it's hard to say. So it feels like Messi is dragging them along more and more, and they've steadily over the last few years, we've criticised them for this, become more and more reliant on him. Normally, as a player gets into their 30s, even a really special player like Messi, you have to kind of reduce their role in some ways. But Messi is completing the joint highest number of dribbles per 90 in the last 10 years. Like, he's playing more progressive passes on that team than anybody else. He's obviously creating the most chances. He's obviously taking the most shots. I just think that what they've done, rather than figuring out a way to continue to get the best out of Messi for as long as possible, they're just trying to get as much out of him as they can now. And it means that he'll probably maybe go a season earlier than he would have otherwise. I don't know. I find Barcelona incredibly frustrating because they've managed to build this squad that doesn't do anything impressive whatsoever. Like, they've actually spent a huge sum of money to create a squad that's like, is it better than Tottenham's squad? Like, probably not really. Like,
Really?
only if you include
I'd say
Messi.
It's much better than Spurs'.
Really? Only if you include Messi.
I think there's not that many Spurs players that would get in Barcelona's team.
But I don't think. But look at Barcelona's midfield, for instance. Like, I would definitely take Ndombele and Lo Celso as easily as I'd take De Jong and Arthur. Like, the back line, like, is Piqué better than Alderweireld now? I don't know, really. Like,
quite tight.
The fullbacks have been pretty poor for a long time at both
Sergio
clubs.
Roberto over Aurier.
Yeah, so would I. But I mean, I'd have taken Danny Rose last season. Well, actually, I don't know. Alba was pretty good, but like, I'd certainly take Son over over Griezmann, over Suarez, and probably over Dembele right now because of the injury issues.
I think it's interesting, actually.
They've got loads of depth actually all over the pitch. But my point is more that they've spent the amount of money they've spent. You'd expect them to have a side that was among the best squads in the world, and I think if you take Messi out, it isn't really. And yeah, they've just managed to gradually kind of grind this team down. It's going to take a while to build it up again. It's a little bit like Arsenal post Emery. They have become a pretty depressing watch. And so, I don't know, if I were Messi, there's a part of me that would think I can go somewhere else, probably enjoy the football more, maybe do a little bit less in a way, and just get paid an obscene amount of money.
Sorry, there was a fly there. I wasn't watching your opinion away. No, I agree. I think I cannot actually foresee a situation where he does leave, to be totally honest, but it's always a fun yearly discussion to have, and it's more indicative of the situation at Barcelona than I think of Messi's future. And I agree with McCubbs when you said that only Man City would probably have the resources to pull it off. But I think Setien's made some quite strange moves already. I probably wouldn't have loaned out Carlos Perez to Roma. I don't really see the benefit of doing that.
He already said he regrets that.
Exactly.
I don't understand. Like, what do you mean you already regret it? It's
how
like we're in
can
the
you make that
first week
mistake?
of February.
Yeah, and they, now with Suarez out for the season, Dembele out for 4 months, Barcelona's attacking resources are now pretty paper thin. And Ansu Fati, I think, looks great, but as Pat says, is very young and still probably can't be relied on to start week in, week out for Barcelona in the. As they've got Napoli coming up in the Champions League, they're already 3 points behind Real Madrid. They're about 4 points where they were off last year. Piqué's now, they'll need to replace Piqué, Busquets, Alba in the next few years. And then they've got Messi at the same time to start to think about. But before we get into who could Barcelona sort of look to replace him with in the distant future, hopefully, let's have a quick fan opinion from Arkham Sheikh 10. who wants to give his opinion on how Setien is doing in these early days and the general Barcelona situation.
Now that Setien is the new manager of Barcelona, he has the Cruyffist approach, the tiki-taka football, the philosophy, and I think he will do really well because he has nothing to lose. He doesn't have something to show. Like, he doesn't have a big reputation, so it's like he is only focused on the football, and I think that is what matters. And I think Barcelona, the players need to concentrate on the football and not care about the politics, what is going on behind. Just focus on the football and play, be happy.
Thank you very much to Ahim Sheikh 10 there. If you want to get your opinion into Continental Club, make sure you look out for my tweet. I will send it on a Wednesday. You then DM me and I'll give you the details of how to do it. But yeah, really high quality so far in the 3 weeks we've done it so far. Guys, I want to throw some names out to you guys about who could potentially replace replacing Messi in the near to distant future. Lautaro Martinez, probably more of a Suarez replacement.
Yeah.
But 11 goals in 20 appearances this year, one assist, over 5 shots per 90 for the last 2 years. So that's one option. Neymar coming back to Barcelona, that looks like it could happen at some stage as well. Has obviously been absolutely remarkable when he's played this year, albeit in France. 13 goals and 6 assists in 14 Ligue 1 games. Over 5.8 dribbles per game, nearly 5 shots. Absolutely ripping it up in France, but seems to be just going through his annual period of boredom around his birthday where he doesn't like to play, and then he's got his sister's birthday coming up as well. So I think he needs a challenge. Going to Barcelona, rekindling that relationship with Messi, very good option as well. And then a little wild card that I put in there as well, slightly different player to Messi obviously, but Lorenzo Pellegrini, playing as a 10 at Roma, has been really impressive. 1 goal, 8 assists, over 3 key passes, 0.61 expected goals and assists per 90. Only Duvan Zapata has more expected assists than him per 90 in Serie A this year, which I was pretty surprised about that it was Duvan Zapata. But guys, what do we think about these options? Pat, if you were trying to replace the irreplaceable in Messi in 2-3 years' time, where would you be looking? Or maybe none of these options at all?
Well, I mean, some of these options, like Pellegrini, is just way too smart for Barcelona. There's absolutely no chance. Like, they might be interested. They're apparently interested in Fabian Ruiz. That would make a lot of sense.
He has had a bit of a down year, though.
But I still think he'd be a good addition to that midfield. Like, he's basically got huge creative numbers and he's going to defend a bit as well. Then you can play De Jong at the 6. Arthur is an amazing passer, but he has a bit of a problem in that he literally does no defending. But Fabian will help cover for that a little bit. I don't actually think you need to think about moving on from Messi that soon. The more worrying thing is that you have to move on from Suarez and probably already Griezmann. Like, that's the issue. Like, you can use Messi as just a 9, or you can play him behind the striker. You could bring back Coutinho and play him behind Messi and somebody else. I think that Lautaro Martinez is the one that has the most kind of mileage to it at the moment. That's certainly the one that you're hearing the rumours about. And Barcelona don't tend to do smart moves that you didn't see coming. They tend to do the things that you hear a lot about for months before. We've also heard rumours about them going for Aubameyang. I think they're exactly that stupid that they go and do that. Like, don't get me wrong, Aubameyang's a fantastic player, but buying another 30-year-old forward is really not the solution to their problems. So, yeah, if I were them, I'd go and be looking for a younger player than Neymar, certainly. I think Lautaro would be excellent for them. He's got exactly the right profile for them. They could also look at Timo Werner, who's got the ability to be creative. But if Mbappe's going to move this summer, which could be possible with 2 years left on his deal, I don't know why you wouldn't do that. Like, he can play off the left, he can play through the middle. So it means that when Suarez or Griezmann or whoever is available, you can play Mbappe on the left without it being an issue. And as those guys age out, he can move to centre forwards and it'll be fine. Like, they should have gone for him when he originally went to PSG. And he's the guy who is like genuinely capable of not replicating what Messi does, but getting close to it. And so I just think, yeah, I'd probably think, okay, right, let's split Messi's responsibilities. There's the ball progression creative side. We either bring Coutinho back or get in somebody like Fabian to do that. And then there's the goal scoring, huge output side. Let's go for an Mbappe or potentially a Lautaro to do that. But Lautaro isn't quite ready to do that yet.
I was thinking that. Yeah, he's probably not a 20 goal a season striker.
Or Sancho or someone. Just do whatever. You just have to go for somebody amazing.
Yeah, McCubs, you wrote a very good scout report, which went out on Tuesday, which you should all check out on Barcelona. And one of the things you talked about was Coutinho.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a possibility that he could come back?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I would be surprised if Setien wasn't seriously considering bringing him back. Because, like you were saying, Pat, I think Barcelona just need that creative spark from the centre of the park. They didn't create anything. Looking at least, they've reverted back to a 4-3-3 now, which just seemed to help because you've just got a little bit more creativity in the forward line. But that midfield just doesn't create anything at all. Frankie de Jong's chance creation, I think, has gone down quite a lot recently. And aside from that, there's no one who really creates in that midfield kind of trident, as it were. And so far, the fullbacks I don't think, have really kicked on in the way that you would have liked under Setien. So that at this moment in time, that's the major problem. And so I think, bringing Coutinho back would be the kind of most logical, and I guess kind of least, you wouldn't take that much of a financial hit off doing so. I broadly agree with Pat, to be honest. I think it's a difficult one. I think you've got to. There's either two options. Either you go for the kind of superstar in Mbappe, who will, you would hope, kind of at least go some way to replicating the kind of output that Messi has over the last few years, as difficult as that is. But if you were to be, I think, in some ways more sensible about it, you need to kind of do that thing of right now being able to reshape the side so it's not as reliant on Messi in every single aspect of attacking play, so that when Messi is, in 2 years' time, 34, 35, and suddenly everyone realises, oh, actually, he's not as superhuman as we thought, and he might leave, or he just can't produce the kind of numbers that we've seen in the past.
After 15 years.
That it's not going to be a huge catastrophe, which if they carry on in the way that they have done in the last 2-3 years, I think it will be a massive catastrophe, because suddenly they will just, they're going to have to be plugging so many holes at once, and they obviously don't have the money to do that in a kind of short space of time. I think either go for the juggler, go for an Mbappe, or make a lot of smart signings in the form of someone like Pellegrini, or bring Coutinho back. And there's also stuff you can do at this moment in time, like even just getting Firpo to play left back, transitioning him in a bit quicker over Alba, moving De Jong back into that Busquets role. And that will become easier if they do bring Coutinho back. But there's a few things that can be done with the squad now as well. I don't think it's not all about what they do in the transfer market.
Yeah, and the tricky thing is they are redeveloping the Camp Nou, I think, as well.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a massive financial burden as well. And Setien's time at Barcelona so far has been pretty unremarkable, I would say. I think it's 4 wins in 6 with 2 defeats, 1 to Athletic Bilbao last night. They were slightly unfortunate. Bilbao only had 1 shot on target, but they really struggled to break down Bilbao's defence, which has been one of the best in Europe this year. Got some stats for you in case you're interested. So their possession under Setien has gone up from 61% to 74%. Their shots per game have only gone up 0.5 from 14.7 to 15.2. Shots on target have stayed the same, and the shots they've conceded per game have dropped by 2. So there is some signs of change there, but it's obviously going to take a few months to get used to a completely different philosophical style. So it's going to be an absolutely fascinating time for Barcelona over the next few months. One which probably won't include Messi leaving, but it's certainly worth the discussion. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Let's move on to our big match preview. There were a few options for our big match preview this weekend. So Quique Setien is taking Barcelona back to his former club Real Betis. Must-win game, I would argue, for them on Sunday night. There's also the Milan derby. There's PSG versus Lyon, and there's Leverkusen versus Dortmund on Saturday evening. But we have to talk about the clash at the top of the Bundesliga, with Bayern taking on Leipzig on Sunday afternoon at 5 p.m. They are currently separated by just 1 point. Huge clash. Host Bayern McCubs have been excellent recently.
Yeah, really, really good. Obviously, we all had our reservations about Hansi Flick and the decision to keep him on, especially when Pochettino was leaving Spurs. But the word from the Bayern camp at all times was that he was very popular and the hierarchy liked him, the players liked him. And that seems to be coming to fruition now. Obviously, they lost back-to-back games back in November, early December. Since then, they've played 6, they've won 6, scored 23, conceded 3.
Tasty.
I mean, it's just like, it's just what we're used to seeing from Bayern over the years, isn't it? Just when we think it might not be there,
Can never rule them out.
It comes back to Bayern. It's all pretty depressing, but no, I mean, in that time they've gone from 7th, being 7 points behind the then leaders Gladbach, to 1 point above Leipzig, obviously, who they're playing this weekend. And it's, very quickly, it's just like, you just back him, wouldn't you? You would just back him in this kind of form. It's just, it just feels like it's just going to happen again.
Yeah.
Last 3 results, 4-0 away at Hertha, 5-0 at home to Schalke, and then 3-1 away at Mainz last weekend, where they were particularly impressive in the first half. It looked like they were going to win that game like 6 or 7-0. Mainz brought it back a little bit in the second half, and I think they took their foot off the gas. But yeah, and it's not like they're really getting that lucky either. XG suggests they've been finishing very well, but at the same time they've been clearly the better team in each game, taking 18.7 shots a game, which is the first in the league. I think this has been the case for the whole season, to be honest. Also conceding the least shots a game as well. I do think there was one weakness against Mainz. I think it was from set pieces. They were a little bit poor. They conceded that initial kind of consolation goal in the first half from a corner. Then it nearly went to 3-2 in the last 10 minutes from a corner, but Mainz were marginally offside. And while, chances from set pieces and from corners, especially headed chances, don't really translate that well to XG, I think that's maybe one area where Bayern could be got at. And could, that seems to be, at least for me, their only weakness right now. Because going forward, they're just absolutely on fire. Obviously, we know all about Robert Lewandowski and the 12 months that he has had. Continues to defy his age. Thiago, though, has been on great form recently. He scored 3 in his last 3. Excellent goal against Mainz. Go and check it out if you haven't already. Obviously, he's been pretty much fully fit this whole season, which has been really good to see. And his all-round play is just pretty excellent, isn't it? 4.5 tackles and interceptions per 90, around a shot per 90, 1 key pass, 3.7 dribbles. Generally what we're used to seeing, to be honest. Nothing, not remarkable by his standards, but when he is just on form, that midfield is just at another level, isn't it? And of course, Felipe Coutinho and Serge Gnabry also been excellent this season as well. So they've got all the tools to see this out, I think, and to comfortably beat Leipzig on the weekend as well, considering their form. And their slight defensive woes recently, but they're still, they are still missing players. Obviously, Sula's been out for a long time. I think he doesn't come back until towards the end of the season.
I think it's February, March.
Okay, end of the month, so a little bit earlier than I first thought. He'll obviously be, massive when he comes back. Perisic is now out for quite a while after, I believe, Odriozola injured him in training. So what an entrance to his Bayern career. There's a few underlying issues, but if they carry on performing at this level, I just can't see them not winning it. Like their next few matches as well aren't particularly difficult. Köln away, Paderborn at home, Hoffenheim away. Maybe a little bit tough, that one, but then Augsburg at home. I think if they do beat Leipzig, then it's very much theirs to lose.
Yeah, definitely. They could accumulate quite a gap in the next month or so, unless Leipzig arrest their form pack, because they have had a little bit of a wobble.
Yeah, they'd had 6 consecutive wins up until the 14th of December, which is why they were top going into the Christmas period. But since then, it's 2 wins in 5. To be fair to them, they've had some tough fixtures in that time. Like, they had to play Dortmund, they played Gladbach, they played Eintracht Frankfurt, and they got a loss and 2 draws out of those games. So, I don't know. In a sense, you can say it's understandable, but on the other hand, those are the games they need to win if they're going to win the league. And the defence has taken a little bit of a dip. Like, they've still scored more goals than they've conceded over that period, but it's like 11-9. And when you're conceding, 1.8 goals a game, I'm not sure that's really championship winning form. I mean, everything under the hood looks fine. Like, they're second in the league for shots, they're second for shots against. So they're like a +5 shots per game side, but Bayern are a +11 shots per game side. So it really comes down to, the quality that they're up against, to be honest with you. But I don't know, I think they still tend to create more chances than the teams they play against, even the bigger sides. So they've carried on conceding the same number of shots when they were playing Dortmund and Gladbach as they did when they were playing, the weaker sides in the league. So they continue to be able to kind of play their game, and they do get a lot out of their squad players as well. I mean, this is something that we always noticed under Nagelsmann, right? That pretty much every attacker would see their numbers go through the roof. And, you know, we've talked about Werner so much, and we have talked about Nkunku, but Nkunku's form is still absolutely ridiculous. It's nearly 3 dribbles a game. He's either assisting or taking, I think, 6.3 shots a game, which is like super elite. Like it's 0.9 expected goals and assists per 90. I think he's currently involved in a goal or an assist every 101 minutes in the league. And Patrick Schick, who
popping up
with just a little bit of depth for them,
Yeah.
he's involved in a goal or assist every 94 minutes in the league. And then Timo Werner, who has been, to my mind, every bit as good as Lewandowski this season, has just continued to be not only an amazing goal scorer, but actually an amazing creator as well this
Such a good player, I
campaign.
love
So,
him.
I mean, I think that Leipzig have been really impressive. And if it weren't for the fact that Werner could potentially leave in the summer, I think we'd be saying it doesn't necessarily matter if they don't win the league this season because they're going to be contenders next year. But it does sort of feel like this is a really big opportunity for them. And if they do want to win the league, being a point behind with, like you said, that easy run of fixtures coming up for Bayern, they kind of need to get these points back now. At the very least, they need a draw out of this game, I think.
Yeah, I think they needed to kind of get quite a gap before Sula's back, Hernandez is back as well, because Bayern, the way they've managed their defensive sort of crisis, what it was a couple of months ago, has been really impressive. Like Alphonso Davies playing so well at left back. I think Pavard's been an excellent addition. That versatility to play at right or at the centre back is just so handy, allowing Kimmich to move into midfield, who's been absolutely phenomenal. Muller's had his best year for quite a while as well. So massive credit to Hansi Flick. I didn't think I'd say it when it was first announced that he was going to be caretaker to the end of the year. But, you know, Leipzig are going to be up against it in the history books as well. So Bayern have only lost 1 of their 7 league fixtures, winning 4 and drawing 2. The last 2 games, though, have been draws, 1-1 and 0-0. The return fixture saw Forsberg and Lewandowski score, and I think it was the 3rd match day 3 of the season. So quite early doors there. As I've said, Bayern have a few injuries. Sula, Perisic, Luka Hernandez, though, could be back for his first appearance since October. What an addition to the side he will be. RB Leipzig do have quite a few injuries, though. Konate, Willi Orban and Kevin Campbell are out with injury. Kevin Campbell probably less of a loss, but Willi Orban and Konate's injuries means that Klostermann was playing at centre-back against, I think it was Frankfurt. And, you know, Leipzig did very well in that game. Frankfurt just scored one absolute screamer from Toure, and then Kostic got another one as well. So massive test this. McCubs, if you had to put a score on it, what do you reckon?
I feel like Leipzig's kind of injury woes have kind of been coming almost just because those injuries have been so long term. I think it's going to be a classic. I think Bayern also conceded. Yeah, Bayern conceded 3 against Hoffenheim midweek as well in the cup. So they're not as watertight as they perhaps were a couple of weeks ago. So I think it's going to be 3-2 to Bayern.
Oh, love it. Pat, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I think Bayern are just dream killers. I just think they'll just do it. 3-1.
Okay. Okay, I'm
comes.
just thinking a shock. I'm thinking a
Really?
3-2 victory for Leipzig away from home. The Bundesliga script is ripped up once
great.
again. It's going to be absolutely brilliant. Right, that's our big match preview predictions. Get yours in the comment section below, and let's quickly move on to quickfire questions. Right, we're going to do quickfire by name by nature this week. I'm just going to fire them at them. Luca Pavlivivi 7 has asked, is there anyone in the world who can stop this Liverpool team from winning the treble? Do you guys think Atletico Madrid could do it against Liverpool?
Nah,
Probably not Atleti, but City could, PSG could,
Real.
Real could,
Over two
feasibly
legs?
Juve could.
I think in a one-off game. I'm not sure over 2 legs.
I don't know, man.
Ooh.
Liverpool have been amazing this season, but they're not quite as amazing as they look. Like, we've seen them go away to Spurs and go away to Chelsea and look pretty beatable, and away to Wolves actually, and they walked out of all 3 of those games with wins. Like, now you can say, oh well, they find a way to get the job done, but you could also say they got pretty lucky in this match.
Nearly dropped points to Southampton, Villa and Leicester as well, by memory.
I think you're right though. I mean, like in terms of over 2 legs in Europe, like no one's been better than Klopp over like the last 3-4 years. Has there?
For sure.
So that is a worry.
That is a
in that
worry.
sense.
Hazardista has asked, who's the most overrated team in Europe? Is there any team that just consistently annoys you with the sort of acclaim they get?
I don't know, to be honest.
Let me have a think.
Liverpool.
Liverpool, yeah, you're not a Liverpool fan.
No,
Let's
but
have it
I
straight.
don't really have that much of beef with them. Like, I think they are one of the great teams, but now people are saying like they're going to be the best team of all time, and they may well end up with the best points
record.
tally of all time. But I actually don't think they're as good as City last season. I don't think they're as good as like.
I think they're better than City last season. I don't know
Bayern
whether they're
and
better
Pep.
than City in the 100-point season, to be honest.
I don't know, man.
Potentially. I think City's deficiencies this year have really skewed the league.
I actually kind of preferred Liverpool last season, but I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
Fair. McCubs, have you got any hatred for any club? Not hatred,
not
necessarily
particularly.
overrated.
Like, I mean, yeah, overrated. It's hard. I feel like it's hard to actually overrate a team. Like usually, like if a team's doing well, like and they're lauded as a really great team, it's not like just a player having like one good season. Like it takes a lot for a team to be really good. So I don't know. Like that's a very boring answer, but I never look at a team and I'm like, oh, they're really overrated. If they're playing really well, they'll generally get the plaudits, I feel.
No, I agree. I think it's our job to like, because we spend so much time like looking at statistics. Generally you're brought down to earth by statistics quite quickly. So I don't feel like we often sit around in the office and be like, they're amazing, because we're always. I think we've maybe got a slightly negative mindset. I don't know.
Maybe Juve. I think maybe Juve over the last few years sometimes like people back.
Yeah, I think they were definitely overrated at the start of this year. They have.
And
got
Barcelona are always
recent
overrated.
months.
Like people are always like, oh, like at the beginning of the season, it was like Barcelona could like challenge for the Champions League, and you're like, yeah, if Messi's unreal, but Messi has been unreal, and they didn't really do. I don't know. De Jong was impressive business, but other than that, Griezmann was like a fucking waste.
I just
of
thought
money.
Griezmann would be so much better. I predicted
I just
Barcelona
think it was
would
a
win the
trash
Champions League.
signing, man. It's just stupid.
Never know.
Yeah, I mean it could happen. It could.
No,
happen.
they could, but like
they'll definitely
they
be
shouldn't.
I would have thought. Yeah, we'll see. Okay, final question. It's a bit of a silly one from Abdi. Series of numbers. Who is better, Sadio Mane or Marco Reus? What do you
Now
reckon?
at their peak,
Just currently.
well, probably Mane.
Okay, at their peak.
I actually think Royce probably.
Really?
Yeah. Royce at one stage.
This
looked
is a
like-
brain teaser.
Royce at one stage.
I can
was
see
like
McCubs' cogs
third
just
best
turning.
player.
Yeah, it's just so many years since I feel like I saw Royce perform at his peak consistently. He was very good last season as well. I'm just going to go Mane.
Yeah, I'm going to go Mane as well. Although, I think Royce is a very good shout for that as well. Anyway, that's all we've got time for on Continental Club for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed our opinions. Let us know what you guys thought of it in the comments section below, and what you want us to see cover next week. Guys, what should they go do now, McCubs?
As you go to Football Daily, the latest Journeyman is out. We went to Bury and kind of tried to tell the story of what happened there. Obviously a massive tragedy, and what the fan community have done in response since that happened. It's a big one, so yeah, go and show it some love, please.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks very much for watching, guys. See you later.